How electric cars will change our environment. There is a large market for cars just in general. Some of the different brands are Toyota, Volkswagen, Honda, Mercedes-Benz, and Chevrolet. All of the brands of cars are from around the world, and they range in price, look, location, and features. Originally, many of the cars used just gas, and now they all have some cars that at least use some amount of electricity to sustain the gas. This quote, North America has witnessed an unprecedented demand for electric vehicles over the last 5 years. For instance, in the United States, the electric vehicle sales jumped from 479,000 in 2017 to 361,307 in 2018, witnessing a jump in sales by as much as 81% in 2018. Though the 2019 sales proved flat to 2018, the growth rate since 2013 still averaged an impressive 25% per year. Although the sales may plunge in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the long-term forecast of EV sales is still optimistic. And that quote is from Business Wire. There's different types of electric cars as well. Some types are AEVs, which are all electric cars, and they're powered by one or more electric motors. And they receive electricity by plugging into a grid, and they store it into batteries. And they use no gas whatsoever. They include battery electric vehicles and full fuel cell electric vehicles. Tesla and Nissan have cars that are fully electric, and they're known as AEVs. Many other brands of cars offer different hybrid. Hybrid cars use electricity and gas, and they require less gas because the electricity helps suspend it for a longer period of time. These are known as PHEV, which is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. PHEVs use batteries to power an electric motor, and they plug into an electric grid to charge, and then they use gas or another fuel to power it. And some types of PHEVs are also called extended range electric vehicles. Tesla, Honda, Toyota, and many other car brands offer PHEVs. Why people prefer EVs? A lot of people prefer electric vehicles because there's less carbon emission, which takes away from the environmental concern that gas causes. Buying electric cars can be like a fashion or a game for younger generations. This quote, a recent AAA survey found that 20% of Americans want their next vehicle to be an electric car. Among millennials, the portion is much higher because it can seem like fit to a younger generation. The next point is, quote, many states and nations already offer significant subsidies to EV purchasers, and some have passed legislation to ban sales of new internal combustion engines altogether. So it's almost just required. And the last point, the increase in demand for electric cars is necessary because gas becomes less available and is becoming more expensive, so it's cheaper too. Energy resources. Many cars used only gas, which was very bad for the environment because gas comes from petroleum, which is a fossil fuel and is non-renewable. Most energy for electric cars comes from wind, solar, and other renewable sources. Renewable energy is essentially energy that comes from something that we have a sustainable amount of, and if we continue to use in a sustainable way and we use it responsibly, we'll have an unlimited source of it. Non-renewable energy is things like fossil fuels or nuclear power, which is essentially energy that we will run out of at some point. Pollution of regular cars. There are 6 major pollutants that come from cars. When gas burns, it forms toxic gases like carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases that greatly contribute to global warming. There's also smog effects, which is a detriment to health for humans and animals. Cars emit carbon monoxide when the carbon in fuel doesn't burn completely. A car's exhaust emits hydrocarbons, a toxic compound of hydrogen and carbon. And when fuel burns, nitrogen and oxygen react with each other and form nitrogen oxides. And particulate matter, small particles of foreign substances in the air, contribute to atmospheric haze and can damage people's lungs. Many customers have become much more aware of the amount of pollution and dangers from cars, and they have pushed for more affordable electric cars to become available. There is still a few drawbacks of electric cars, though. Although there is many benefits to electric cars, they're not perfect. Although electric cars take away the need for gas, making the batteries for electric cars require ores and metals and lithium, which can be expensive and hard to get, and they also affect the environment because of the excessive mining. More charging stations are going to be necessary, and currently there really isn't enough for many people to be driving electric cars. And we need people to reuse and recycle batteries from their cars, because if they are left behind, they can become very toxic to the environment. And then how does this tie back to the theme of resilience? Electric cars can be one of the solutions to recovering from the current environmental crisis. It shows resilience because of how people are creating new cars to adapt, and we are using our customer power to purchase them and protect the environment. Thank you.
This presentation will cover the history and the science of the Mount Vesuvius eruption in 79 AD. 17 years before the big eruption, there was an earthquake. Pliny the Younger wrote, "Earthquakes were not particularly alarming, because they happened frequently in Campania, but this one was more destructive." Scientists believe that when there are earthquakes near volcanoes, it's because the magma is moving. Mount Vesuvius is a stratovolcano, which means it's the most destructive kind of common volcano. Pyroclastic eruptions are very violent.
Caribbean volcanic eruptions generate deadly pyroclastic flows. This extremely hot avalanche of rock, ash and gas speeds through valleys at up to 400 miles per hour, causing total devastation. Parts of it can climb out of valleys and take inhabitants by surprise. It cannot be outrun. Be prepared to evacuate before an eruption to avoid pyroclastic flows.
Hazards of volcanoes include being buried under ash and poison gases. In pyroclastic eruptions, you can't outrun the flows because it goes super fast and it is really hot. Because it was so close to the sea, it may produce tsunamis. When Vesuvius erupted, there was a tsunami, but it wasn't that big, and this is how it got started. Tsunamis are created when pyroclastic flows go into the steam. Here is some suggestions to survive a volcano eruption. If indoor, close all windows and doors. If outdoor, seek shelter. Avoid low-lying areas. Wear long sleeve shorts and long pants. Use goggles to protect your eyes. Use a dust mask and stay out of volcano areas.
Volcanic eruption is a possibility we must face. In case an evacuation becomes necessary, always keep a first aid kit, dust masks, goggles, passport and other important documents ready, as well as any particular medication you might need while you're away from home. Also arrange a temporary place to stay with friends or family away from the dangerous zone. Create your own family disaster plan today.
We've talked about the science of volcanoes. Now we're going to talk about the specific history of Pompeii. Dr. Stephen Hook from Miami University used the last names of people from Pompeii to determine where they went. They also found a welcome mat from Pompeii. They knew it was from Pompeii because of the Etruscan language. Where to go based on where they had second homes or relatives. They mostly went north. The Roman government took away money from the people who died in the eruption and did not have a family member who survived to give it to. The government used this money to build more infrastructure in the cities where the refugees went. This map shows where people who survived the eruption went. This shows resilience because it is the first time that any navy tried to rescue people. Before the rescue attempt at Pompeii, every navy was focused on fighting enemies. Pliny the Elder was the commander of the Roman Navy. He led the rescue attempt at Pompeii. He got a letter from his wife asking to be rescued. By then, the only way out of Pompeii was by sea. His reaction was to send out the entire Roman fleet. Pliny the Elder died at Stabai during said rescue attempt. The commander died at Stabai because of all the ash and smoke. Scientists believe he died from a heart attack. Scientists do not know if the rescue attempt was successful or not. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for listening.
What resilient means to me. Introduction. Resilient is being strong and even if it's not possible to survive. To me, it's a very important word. And it's a very strong word because it is saying that we have to break through all the difficulties and try our best to reach the goal. Today, I am going to talk about the gift of the Magi, Lil Ghost, and the LA Lakers because I think they all showed resilience in a different way. The Gift of the Magi. The Gift of the Magi, written by O. Henry, is one of my favorite stories in literature because it really touched my heart and both of the characters shows resilience in the story. Della and Jim are the main characters in the story, and both of them love each other. It's almost Christmas time, but they don't have the money to buy each other presents. Della only has $1.87, but she really wants to get her husband a present. She finds a place to sell her hair and she gets $20. She cuts her hair and she spends all of the $20 for a chain. When she gets home, her husband is shocked. Her husband got her a hair comb and is shocked too because he sold his gold watch. He can't use the chain anywhere, but they keep it because it's their best present for Christmas. I think Jim and Della both show resilience in this story. Della cuts all of her hair just for a chain of the gold watch, and Jim sells his gold watch just to get a hair comb. It really touched my heart. Lil Ghost. Lil Ghost was born in a wealthy family. He had a dream to be a rapper and a dancer, so he left home and tried to make his dream come true. He left home because his parents didn't want him to do this job. In 2018, he was in a show called 偶像练习生. There were 100 male participants in this show, and they were all teenagers. All of them had a dream to become famous. During the training period, Lil Ghost was trying his best to let people get to know him. So he made a lot of songs like Goodnight and Don't Call Me Da Vinci, and they are very popular even now. At the end of that show, he actually got famous, and he became a member of a group called 9%, and it's still very popular now. I think Lil Ghost is a very hard worker, and I really want to be like him. It showed resilience because he got so much pressure, and a lot of people said that he was a bad boy, but he showed everyone that he could do it. It just takes time. LA Lakers. To me, the LA Lakers showed resilience when Kobe Bryant died. Kobe Bryant was one of the MVP players for the LA Lakers, but in 2020, Kobe Bryant passed away. It was very hard to get over it for the team and even for Lakers fans. LeBron James respected his best friend Kobe Bryant, so he gave him a tribute to Kobe Bryant by wearing a Kobe Bryant's jersey. And most of the LA Lakers fans cried on that day. I think the LA Lakers showed resilience by wearing black jerseys during the game because when they put on the black jersey, it meant that they were going to remember Kobe. The Lakers won the final later that year. What I have learned from this project. This project taught me a lot of things from the gift of the Magi. I learned how you can give up everything except for love. From Lil Ghost, I learned about not giving up on your dream because you never know how close you are to reach your goal. Lastly, from the LA Lakers, I learned about how important a friend or teammate is, and that friendship will never break.
Hello, my name is Simon Wright, and this is my academic showcase project. I'm doing it for physical science in 8th grade. My project relates to resilience as having to train a autopilot car would be extremely inefficient if you had to train it on every single road in the entire world. So I decided to train it on one and then give it another track to see if it can drive. It probably won't, but I'm going to give it a try. So I was tasked with explaining how my 1/16 scale self-driving car works. But honestly, I don't even know how it works because I smashed my head into the keyboard for about 12 hours and it kind of works, I guess. So I'll explain the principles behind it. First, we have a 1/16 scale four-wheel car. It has two motors on it. One is a servo, which is a type of motor that has high torque but low speed, and that is to control the steering for the front wheels. We have here a Raspberry Pi, which is an off-the-shelf single board computer. This single board computer has 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is quite a lot, an SD card with 60 gigabytes of storage, 64, and some other wireless capabilities. Now, aside from that, we have a camera and some other sensors. Those sensors are connected to the software on the Raspberry Pi. It is powered by artificial intelligence. I kind of understand the principles, but I don't really feel like explaining them because it would take 3 hours. So I'm just going to say this. Normal artificial intelligence can be classified in 2 types. There's the adaptive artificial intelligence and the standard artificial intelligence. Most people think when they think of artificial intelligence, they think of the social media bots and the recommendation feeds. However, those aren't actually artificial intelligence. Those are algorithms. Algorithms are hard programmed to be, they can recognize differences, and then they know that they can take a video and separate it into a bunch of different sections, and then take those sections and then separate a bunch of other videos into those sections and say, well, you watched this video and it had these sections, so here's some more videos that also have those sections, but maybe something else. They also take into account a bunch of other factors, which is why most people think they are AI, but they are not. Most AI are called adaptive, which means they can learn, which is why they are artificial intelligences. Most artificial intelligence use reinforcement learning, where you will have, say, in the car example, you would have a track, and you would have gates along the track, and every time you would go up, the car would go through gates, you would give the AI points, and then in the code you say points equals good, no points equals bad. And you say that good is good, and you want good. So the more good it has, the better it is. But you have to be very careful, because sometimes, if you don't program it correctly, the AI is actually smarter than the programmer. So it'll end up just going back and forth across the gates really, really fast without actually going around the track. So you have to take into account a bunch of things, because it's really creative. Because imagine if you tried to draw something 50 billion times. You would be really good if you only draw one thing. This Raspberry Pi has an SD card, and it can record. You can drive it through Wi-Fi, and it can record and store that data. And it also records the video of the car driving around, and then the AI will look at that, because then you take the SD card out of the Raspberry Pi and plug it into a much more powerful computer, and then the AI will look at that, and your AI is running on the computer, and then that AI spits out another smaller AI, and then you plug it back into the SD card, and then you put this on the car, and then you drive it around.
Hi, my name is Lily Nada, and I'm in Spanish 4, and this is a video I made with my friends about picking up trash on the side of Highway 101. This video fits with the theme of resilience because an impactful way to show resilience is helping others or the environment in times of need and hardship.
Luego sí encontramos la forma de no aburrirnos y de ayudar a la comunidad al mismo tiempo. Decidimos recoger basura. Hemos ido al sur del Freeway 101 para recoger basura y dejar la acera y las plantas viéndose más limpias y más saludables. ¿Qué tiene que ver esto con nuestro tema Resilience? significa recuperación y para nosotras es ayudarnos a hacer algo bueno para todos en este tiempo tan difícil de la pandemia. ¿Cómo se les ocurrió esto a ti y a tu familia?
For a long time, we have been talking about doing this because we've seen trash like all over Menlo Park. My parents saw the trash on the side of the road, and my mom came home and was really annoyed, so she asked us to go clean it up.
¿Por qué decidiste invitar a tus amigos?
Well, we had been talking about this before, how we wanted to go and do a beach cleanup, so I thought it's kind of like the same thing, so I decided to invite y'all.
¿Por qué elegiste este lugar específico para recoger la basura?
When my mom goes to her workout class, she passes it, and so it's just like she knew that there was a lot of trash there, so she invited my family.
¿Cómo te hace sentir recoger la basura?
Feels pretty good. I mean, it feels like we're sort of making a difference, even if it's small.
¿Cómo ayuda esto a la comunidad?
Well, it gives us like a cleaner environment, which like doesn't seem like a lot, even if it's like a small community. Walking and seeing trash everywhere is not the best feeling, but if you get to walk through somewhere where it's like clean and nice, it just like, I feel like it makes people's days brighter.
¿Cuál fue tu primer pensamiento cuando te invitaron a recoger basura?
I was really excited because she'd already asked me to help her with like another project, so I thought this would be like a lot of fun because I know working with her is great.
¿Cómo te hace sentir recoger la basura?
It makes me feel good, like really good about like myself and what I'm doing to help the community, especially when people come around and they like honk, they're like, "You're doing a great job," and that's always just like really heartwarming and it's nice.
¿Cómo ayuda esto a la comunidad?
I think that cleaning up trash helps the community in so many different ways. But just being able to like look at it and like the people coming around and like honking and they support you, like you know that like maybe you sparked an idea for them and maybe then they'll pick up trash wherever they are and like just having a clean community is just so much nicer than it being completely trashed.
¿Cuáles son algunas sugerencias que tienes para las personas que buscan ayudar a la comunidad?
It's really not that hard. You just have to work up the nerve to do it. And once you do, then you're there. It's really just a matter of doing it because it's really not that hard.
¿Cuál fue tu primer pensamiento cuando te invitaron a recoger basura?
For cleaning up the trash, my immediate thought was I was very excited. I'm in leadership, so I needed the hours. Plus, I mean, community service has always been very fun. Doing it with a friend is the plus.
¿Cómo te hace sentir recoger la basura?
Cleaning up the trash makes me feel very happy, you know, doing something not only good for our community, but also the environment is always a really nice thing to do, so I really enjoy it.
¿Cómo ayuda esto a la comunidad?
Well, it definitely helps the community of just kind of showing that cleaning it up, just so it's not necessarily, you know, you go around and it's like trash everywhere and not exactly the nicest community, which, you know, if it's dirty, most likely people will just stay in that pattern. And then eventually the city just really won't become that nice of a place to live. But with us just doing super easy trash cleanups, I think it definitely helps encourage people to like take more care of the environment that we live in. Maybe encourage them to go out more because it's not that you're going out and you're surrounded by trash. You're going out into a clean place that is nice and you can really enjoy it.
¿Cuáles son algunas sugerencias que tienes para las personas que buscan ayudar a la comunidad?
Really just do anything you can. So Whether it is just going and picking up trash or getting involved in a different program, like maybe, Boys and Girls Club here in the Bay Area, also like Second Harvest Food Bank, just doing something, going out somewhere. It's really easy to just reach out to friends and say, hey, let's go do this one thing just, for an hour this weekend, and just really going out and doing anything. We have a lot of resources in the Bay Area that allows us to do so many amazing things for the communities around us, and just really looking for that and reaching out to people is really important.
This is Resilience Shown by Authors and Public Figures by Ellie Rangel. This presentation is to showcase the resilience that has been shown through authors and public figures including Jane Austen, Nancy Meyers, and Lars Eichner. Jane Austen was an English writer from the 1700s who is most famously recognized for her 6 major novels, all of which critique, qualify, and illuminate the British culture and society at that time. Jane Austen was born in December of 1775 to a lower middle-class family consisting of her Reverend Father, George, and mother, Cassandra. Jane's life consisted of heartbreak after heartbreak and a disease that eventually killed her. Jane is a historical symbol for resilience because despite the intense and tragic curveballs that life threw her way, she continued to follow her passion and write, which eventually made her one of the most well-respected and famous writers of all time. Next is Nancy Meyers, who is a renowned author, most well known for her writings on diverse topics, including spirituality, women's issues, and her own experience living with multiple sclerosis, also known as MS. Nancy Meyers is an outstanding representation of resilience. While she was living with MS, she lived her life with adventure and dignity. Nancy goes through the disease and explains how it is uncontrollable and says how one may lose vision, hearing, speech, the ability to walk, control of bladder and or bowels, strength in any or all extremities, sensitivity to touch, vibration, and or pain, potency, coordination of movements. She then delivers a heartwarming list of activities and excitements that she experiences in a day-to-day life, including teaching medical students how to give proper neurological exams, being a grandmother, playing Scrabble, and her personal favorite, sitting on her front steps with her husband, drinking amaretto and smoking a cigar. Nancy is the epitome of resilience because she faced a horrible, life-altering disease that tends to drain people physically and mentally, and changed her lifestyle to work around it while continuing to do whatever makes her happy. Next is Lars Eichner, who is a writer most well known for his essay on dumpster diving, where he explains the lifestyle and mentality as a homeless man and goes through the ethics and protocols to dumpster diving. Lars's resilience shines through his writings as he takes readers along the harsh realities of living as a homeless man.
He takes a situation and turns it around into a methodical system of zero waste and creates a strategic code of conduct for himself for his way of living. By using imagery and clear language, he instills a sense of respect within readers towards his unfortunate situation. Lars Eichner embodies resilience through his writings in On Dumpster Diving by taking what started as an undesirable experience and turning it into a unique way of living. In conclusion, resilience is a universal strength that can be shown in all different types of people, including Jane Austen, Nancy Mears, and Lars Eichner.